Hello and welcome to the Voltage Library. My name is Stacy and this is my colleague Mandy. And on this channel, we'll be teaching you everything there is to know about the blend of PEMF and terahertz frequencies in a particular device that we use and that we teach. I will not be mentioning the name of this device on this channel, but there is a specific one we are talking about. So if you see this video or were sent this video, reach out to the person that sent it to you. So welcome to the Voltage Library. This channel exists for one reason and one reason only, and that is to teach you how voltage actually works inside the human body and why adding voltage back into a depleted system is often the missing piece in healing. So we're not here to talk about diagnoses, labels, or symptom chasing. We are here to talk about the electrical foundation that every system in the body depends on. And once you understand that, I think everything else finally starts to make sense. So just a quick note before we dive in that this channel is educational only. We are here to teach principles in biology, not to diagnose or treat conditions, and always use your own judgment when applying any information to your personal situation.
Exactly. You're spot on with that, Stacy. I just want to add that most people have never been told that their body runs on electrical signaling. They've been taught chemistry, maybe hormones, even things like organs, but never the role voltage plays in communication, repair, and regulation. If you've tried a lot of things and felt like your body just wasn't responding, this is the conversation that explains why.
Exactly. So every episode that we do in this library is going to be built around one core idea. That is, when the body loses voltage, communication breaks down. And when communication breaks down, healing becomes chaotic and slow, or sometimes even impossible. So we'll be talking about how adding voltage, specifically through the PEMF and terahertz blend, supports the nervous system, circulation, detox pathways, immune signaling, and tissue repair. Not as a cure, not as a magic fix, but as a biological requirement that has been ignored for far too long.
So, in this first episode, we're starting at the beginning what voltage actually is, why the body needs it, how it gets depleted, and why so many people are stuck doing all the things but still not getting better.
Yeah, you're right. And before we get technical, we really need to explain how we even ended up here because this wasn't a planned specialty. This wasn't a business decision, even though we've both been teaching it for 3 years now. This started because, my body was injured. I was injured by Pfizer. And after that injury, my system stopped behaving in ways that I could make sense of. Sleep stopped restoring me, stress tolerance disappeared. Symptoms stacked instead of resolving. And the most frustrating part was that I wasn't careless with my health. I was doing what people were saying, what the basics are: diet, sleep, lifestyle. None of that was landing though. So when frequency first entered my life, I really didn't understand it at all. I didn't understand the mechanism. I didn't understand what the system, what system it was affecting. And I didn't think in terms of voltage or nervous system regulation at all. Like that was just completely foreign to me. Nobody even talked to me
Yeah,
about that. So
no, it's
all
true.
I yeah, all I knew was that something shifted massively when frequency was introduced in a way that nothing else had been able to touch. I had tried everything under the sun. And when I saw how impactful this frequency was, it mattered enough that I just couldn't ignore it.
Yeah, and I think that's really where our paths ended up connecting.
Mhm.
Because I didn't try frequency because I was convinced by a theory. I tried it because I watched your results.
Exactly. Yep.
I was injured by Moderna and my body was also losing regulation. Sleep wasn't restorative. Stress was just overwhelming. And my body was just constantly braced. And
hmm
I saw that something had changed for you in a way that nothing else had. So when I tried it, it wasn't because I understood it, it was because I was watching it work.
Right. And that's the important distinction, because you and we spent many hours commiserating and, trying different things together at the same time, from black seed oil to pine needle tea and all this. We tried everything and we were sharing notes and comparing notes. And so, when things started to shift for me, it wasn't clarity at first. It was just results. I was just going by what happened in my body. So it was results first and then understanding later. And for a long time, I didn't even think this had anything to do with the nervous system. In fact, I had been explicitly taught that it was not the nervous system. I was taught to look everywhere else: immune dysfunction, toxic load, inflammation, mitochondrial damage, terrain issues. But I trusted that framework so much that I was not really looking anywhere else. And I tried to fit frequency into it instead of letting frequency challenge it.
I was really in kind of a similar thing, and at
Yeah.
that point, neither of us were saying that this is the answer. We were saying that this is doing something that nothing else is doing because I was in a really similar situation with I mean, trying everything. I literally had put myself into debt.
Right.
And the results that I saw were just so mind blowing. I think we both wanted to kind of figure out why that was. And that was a very different place for both of us to start.
Right. Yeah. Because we came from the absolute pits of health, to like it was just the worst. If you could be on any closer to death's door, I don't know how you could be because it was just really bad. So, you know, stuff kept happening that kept making it impossible to dismiss what we were seeing. We started seeing the same responses in our bodies. Mandy and I had very similar symptoms, very similar, like mirror images of each other. Mandy was worse than me neurologically, but we were very similar. And so, we started talking about our results online and then we started sharing it and it just started to grow like wildfire because we were seeing these results over and over again in other people, not just us, but clients, different diagnoses, different injuries, different backgrounds, but we kept seeing the same pattern: less reactivity, more tolerance to things they couldn't tolerate before, fewer crashes, better sleep, the ability to finally get their body to let go and detox without spiraling. Systems that had been overreacting like for years. I've seen this with clients over and over. Really sensitive systems reacting to everything. I've had people even react to water, drinking water, and then they're finally able to relax and settle. Their body was settling. And I want to be very clear. I did not know back then what was happening. I didn't know what it was yet. We just knew that it was consistent. The results were consistent.
Yeah, same here. I mean, it was just consistent across the board. And that
Hmm.
consistency, I think, is what forces deeper questioning.
Yes.
You can dismiss one result. You can maybe like rationalize two. But when you
Right.
see, but when you see the same thing happen across people who should not be responding the same way, you have to start asking a different question. Not what
Yes.
supplement did we use, but I think really what system is being supported.
Right. So over the last, 3 years, both of us have worked with clients almost exclusively in this space and watching real bodies respond, tracking patterns, paying attention to what held and what didn't. That all slowly got us to the place we are today, where this picture has just become impossible to ignore. That what was changing wasn't just symptoms, it was regulation of the entire nervous system, the entire body. Okay. So that's when everything finally pointed back to communication. And communication in the body is what? It's electrical first over everything. So it took me almost 2 years to finally to fully accept that truth, I guess. Um, because it meant admitting that the framework that I had trusted was incomplete, not wrong, but incomplete. And the nervous system just isn't being talked about in the health space like it should be. And now I know that, I realize that. The nervous system has never been a side character. It's been the conductor all along. I tell my clients, your nervous system is the puppeteer pulling the strings at all times. And voltage is the currency that nervous system runs on. So once I discovered that, I was like, whoa, how about you, Mandy?
Yeah, no, you are so right. And once you understand that, nervous system regulation stops being vague. Survival mode, it's pretty much like what I would say electrically cheap.
Yeah.
Because
Yes.
repair is expensive. It takes a lot of energy. If the body
Yes.
doesn't have enough voltage, it can't choose repair no matter how disciplined someone is.
Right. And so we had to shift from, thinking that it's mindset to, oh, this is actually just straight physics. And that's why I wanted to create this voltage library. I mean, after 3 years of stumbling into frequency, watching it work, studying it, applying it with clients, we needed a place to put the full picture together, not fear based, not hype driven, because there's a lot of that around these frequency devices like, oh, just do it. It's magic. It'll work for everything. It's not that simple. We're not symptom obsessed. We're actually just grounded in biology and physics and the lived results that we have witnessed. And, this is a very major piece of my life's work because this framework is what finally made healing make sense. It's when I started to see my clients come forward and out of the darkness and out of their symptoms and out of their loops with their nervous system. And really a lot in the past, 12 months, I started focusing on nervous system mapping more specifically. And yeah, it's just everything's falling into place. And for me, after Pfizer, it was like the same magic happened. For Mandy, it was the same magic happened after Moderna. And for the hundreds of people that we've worked with since who finally stopped feeling broken, once we restored that communication, we taught them how to get that voltage up in their body using these technologies.
You're so right. And, going forward, I think every episode will take one piece of this and go deeper because, why not? Different systems, different conditions, same underlying mechanism.
Right. So if you've ever felt like your body was not responding, no matter how hard you tried, this library is exactly for you.
Right. Because healing begins when communication returns.
Exactly. And voltage is how that conversation starts in the body. So now I want to kind of, I guess, slow down and talk about something I genuinely did not understand when it first happened to me. And honestly, it bothered me enough that I spent the last 3 years studying why it worked, not just celebrating that it did. So my body did not begin to heal when I added another supplement, another detox, another protocol, another food rule. My body actually began to heal when I added one thing, and that was voltage. And at the time, I didn't even fully understand what that meant. I just knew something fundamental had shifted. And up until that point, I had done everything right according to the natural health world because I started in allopathics, but then I switched over to the natural health because I always tended to be on the more crunchy side anyway. So I was doing the clean food and the supplements and the gut work and the binders and the saunas and the detox tools, and I was still sick. Not mildly sick either. I was actually systemically sick. Like my body was still declining. I was autoimmune. I was inflamed. I was reactive. I was exhausted. My symptoms were 2 pages long. And then when voltage entered the picture, things started turning back on in a way that felt different, not forced, not dramatic, just functional again. And I actually had a pretty rapid result with my experience with voltage. I mean, I felt my body wake up in the first 48 hours. And that's when I got really curious because if this was the thing that finally moved the needle for me, then it wasn't just another tool, it was upstream. So I just took it and ran with it. And I wanted to teach everybody. And Mandy's one of those people that I was like, Mandy, you gotta see this.
No, you're so right, and I really think that curiosity is what changed the direction of everything,
Hmm.
because once you start asking why something works instead of just being relieved that it does, you're forced to look at the foundation. And
Yes.
that's when it stops being about like which detox is best and which one everybody prefers or all of these different side areas. And it really starts being about what allows detox to happen at all.
Right. So a lot of people think that detox is a product. You see all these detox teas, detox cleanses, parasite cleanses. Detox is not a product, okay? Detox is a process in the body that is designed to run constantly, 24 hours a day. The problem is that most bodies today don't have the conditions required to run that process effectively like it should be. And the biggest missing condition is, guess what? Voltage, that electrical charge. Because your body is actually electrical first, okay? A lot of people don't know that, but the electricity comes first. The electricity is missing. Everything else kind of falls apart. Your body's electrical first, chemical second, mechanical third. And that order is really important, especially when it comes to the physiology of it, right? Chemistry does not work without electricity. Transport does not happen without voltage. So elimination does not happen without flow. And flow does not exist in a low voltage system. So when people say detox made them worse, okay, or they have tried everything and nothing worked, or they're suddenly sensitive to everything, what they're usually describing is a body trying to mobilize toxins without that electrical power source that is required to move them out.
Yeah, the detox pathways people talk about are real, but they're downstream. So the liver, the kidneys, the gut, the lymph, the skin, the
Yes,
lungs,
yes,
all of
yes,
them depend on electrical signaling and nervous system coordination. Phase 2 liver detox is really energy dependent.
yes, almost
So
exclusively. Yeah, it's very important.
yeah, it is. And then, you've got filtration in the kidneys, which is charge dependent.
Hmm.
And then peristalsis in the gut is electrically driven. So you have all of these different areas like the lymph, it's got no pump, and your sweat is atomic, and breath alters blood chemistry and the nervous system tone. And you have all of these different areas and things that are working in your body. They require a massive amount of energy, and every single detox pathway is governed by the nervous system. And the nervous system, it's an electrical system.
Right. Yeah. So I want to touch on something you mentioned up there, peristalsis. This word always throws me off. So I just want to explain to people that we will use big words here, but I'm going to try to always explain what that means. So peristalsis is the act of your gut contracting. So your gut contracts when it starts to digest food. If you don't have enough
Right.
electrical power, your food will not digest properly because it's not getting mashed up by those contractions in the gut. So
Right.
that's a huge piece of digestion. And I do think you meant to say sweat is autonomic, but it's okay. we all we have brain farts every now and then. But yeah,
Oops.
it's okay. Detox is not a fight or flight activity. Okay. So if you are in fight or flight and you're constantly in that surveillance mode, your body is never detoxing. Detox only happens when your body is in a parasympathetic state. So what does that mean? That means the rest state, the digest state, the repair state. Voltage depletion pushes the body into survival mode only. And you cannot detox in survival mode. It's just literally physically impossible, physiologically impossible. So voltage
Right.
itself, yeah, is electrical potential across the cell membranes. A lot of people don't know that. So healthy cells hold a charge, sick cells do not. So when the mitochondria generate voltage, nerves communicate electrically. So the heart runs on electricity. So when the voltage drops, just imagine the transport slows, the healing slows, the inflammation rises, the sensitivity starts to increase. And this is where my healing finally made sense. Everything just kind of clicked. I didn't heal because I found the perfect detox. I healed because I restored the master detox pathway, and that is voltage. So once that electrical communication came back online, my body knew what to do intuitively.
Right, and mine did too. I mean, you saw my results. They were rapid, and I know it's not that way for everybody, but specifically for me, it's just like where my body ended up putting all that energy to, and it was just insanity. And
Right.
you know, there is a side part of this, and that is that you cannot supplement your way out of low voltage.
No, you cannot.
You can take all of these things, um, and if your body doesn't have the energy to use them, it's not going to. Supplements are just like materials at this point.
Right.
Voltage is function.
Mm-hmm.
Frequency frequency-based tools, they don't add chemistry, they restore signaling. And once signaling is restored, detox becomes gentle and subtle and consistent instead of overwhelming and dramatic, which I know that you have seen some people who do way too much and they end up on the bad side of things.
Oh yeah.
And it's just the worst thing ever to watch whenever you have somebody who is using all of these things and they're missing the key foundational piece.
Right. And that's the thing is aggressive detox crashes people because it's ignoring that pathway, which is the voltage. Okay. So dramatic detox is actually a red flag. And once you understand that voltage is upstream of everything else, the whole picture changes. You stop forcing the body and you stop blaming yourself and you start asking one simple question. Does this increase my voltage or does this decrease my voltage? And if it increases voltage, guess what? Detox will follow. If it's decreasing your voltage, detox will stall. And that's why voltage is the master pathway that no one is talking about at all.
Right, now we're going to talk about mechanism because that is where voltage stops being a concept and starts being biology.
Hmm.
Voltage is not electrically floating around randomly. It is the measurable electrical potential living tissue maintains. Okay.
Yep.
So cells are designed to hold a charge difference across the membrane. And that charge difference is what drives transport and timing and signaling. And when that potential weakens, everything else just kind of becomes sluggish,
Yes. Yep.
nutrients, they don't like enter efficiently, waste doesn't leave efficiently,
Hmm.
signals arrive late or distorted, and the body just kind of tries to compensate by increasing inflammation and stress signaling.
Right. And I like to give my clients this little analogy, right? So just imagine your cell is an Uber car, okay?
Right.
And your Uber car, without voltage, it has no driver. But you've got all these passengers getting in that need to go somewhere. That's nutrients, that's toxins, but they're not going anywhere. Why? Because there's no driver. Voltage is
Right.
the driver of the body. Voltage gives the body a buffer, margin, adaptability. I can't speak today with healthy
You're
charge.
good.
With a healthy charge, the body can inflame and resolve the way it's supposed to. Inflammation is a natural process. It's there for a reason. It's not a bad thing. It's got a lot of bad connotation, but actually, inflammation is a process of the immune system. It's not something that should be given with a negative connotation, because if inflammation's in the body, you've got inflammation issues or chronic inflammation, your immune system's trying to tell you something. But that inflammation and resolving program that your body's supposed to do, it does it quickly. It rebounds quickly the way it should with proper voltage. It's able to mobilize and clear. It's able to stress and recover. So you have a bad thing happen, your nervous system gets all keyed up. Some people, like me, back in the day before I was using voltage, I would get all upset, and I would have a really hard time bringing myself back down to zero. That is another sign of low voltage, because with low voltage, the same stressor overwhelms your system. And that's why people start to feel fragile. And guess what? If you're in a stressful environment and stress after stress after stress, having that compiles and that stacks in the nervous system. And a lot of
Right.
people don't know that. They also don't know that mitochondria doesn't just make energy, they actually generate the membrane potential. And when that potential drops, the detox in the body becomes completely chaotic, and the symptoms just start to multiply. And I'm sure you and I both have experienced that.
Oh, yeah. I mean, more times than I can count, honestly. And it's kind of funny, real looking backwards,
Yeah,
how
yeah.
much we were really missing.
Yes.
Another big part of this is that the nervous system is the coordinator and it decides timing and it decides flow and it decides whether
Hmm.
detox is allowed.
Hmm.
So, detox is parasympathetic. Most people are trying to detox in a body that reads life as an emergency. Low voltage equals low coordination, essentially.
Yeah. So we're not, there's so many rabbit holes we can go down, but that's what this channel is for. And we're going to be making episodes every week, probably multiple episodes. Let's be fair. There's so much for us to cover.
Right.
But there's just so many things to get into, and we will get into all of these more, the nervous system and how it ties into voltage. All of that is going to be a part of this channel. So make sure you subscribe if you're liking what you're hearing today. But I do want to touch on the blend that I mentioned in the beginning of this video, because that is the blend that helped Mandy and I both. So we are talking specifically about adding voltage to the body through a PEMF and terahertz blend device. Okay. The reason the blend matters is because it supports regulation at more than one layer at the same time. So let's go over what those frequencies are real quick. So PEMF is pulsed electromagnetic field input, and it influences the electrical environment that tissues operate in. So it supports things like circulation, timing, and signaling. So when that flow improves, the detox improves. Now, maybe tell us about terahertz.
Yeah, so terahertz input appears to support coherence at a finer level. I'd
Hmm.
say particularly through tissue hydration and nervous system tone.
Yes.
So when water in the body is the medium through which signals move. So when that medium becomes more organized, communication becomes clearer.
Right.
People experience this as like calmer sleep or clearer thinking, less reactivity, or even things like better recovery.
Right. So together, that blend supports both movement and regulation. It's not forcing detox, but it's allowing it. And one thing that's really important to know is that one of the things I notice in clients, and I see this pattern with my clients, and Mandy probably does too, is that it's like these biomagnetic fields that we're placing around the body, they actually trick the nervous system back into that parasympathetic state. That's what we're seeing. It's giving a signal to the body to relax and come back into that detox. So again, we're not forcing detox, we're allowing it, because we're giving the body the proper foundations to move like it should.
Exactly, and on the opposite end of that, you have these people who are chronically low on voltage. And some of
Mhm.
those symptoms might show up as fatigue or sensitivity, poor sleep, things like digestive stagnation or lymph congestion.
Yeah.
Even things like pain that moves around or inflammation that won't resolve.
Hmm.
Um, and
Emotional stuff, that's in there
yes,
too.
yes, emotional problems and the lack of just resilience. They're
Yeah.
really like I wouldn't say that you would necessarily look at somebody and think, "Wow, they're just all of these things that, you look at somebody, you get somebody who's highly symptomatic, for
Hmm.
instance,
Hmm.
and every single one of their symptoms you can really trace back to the same thing.
Hmm.
And I would say that that is electrical states.
Right, right. So Yeah, people will come to us as a huge mess, just anxious all of the time. They can't sleep. They're wired but tired. All of that. And a lot of people want to look at those as character flaws. But really, people are running around with dysregulated nervous systems. That's really what it is. Everything comes back to the nervous system. I was shocked when I learned this. When I started studying this, I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe that it was something that nobody was talking about. I know there are practitioners out there that do special work, chiropractors and whatnot, but I mean people that were literally working with the nervous system directly daily. That's what this tech does. And once you understand that that voltage is upstream of everything else, okay, everything else is run by voltage. So once you let that sink into your head, you will realize that healing is not so mysterious.
Right, and I think that's really what we're trying to do here. Um, we are creating this channel because we aim to teach.
Yes. In depth teaching, okay? So we're going to be going very in depth. We're going to be covering all kinds of conditions. If you have a condition you want us to cover, please leave it in the comments. We will be taking suggestions as we go because we want to
All
know
right.
what's important to people to learn about this tech because lots of people are curious about this tech. We will be going over the different types of frequency techs and what they all mean and how they all affect the body, all of that stuff. But our wheelhouse is this PEMF and terahertz blend. So I want to come back and close this out, okay? By coming back to this question that started all of this for both of us. Why did this work when everything else we tried did not? And it wasn't because we hadn't tried hard enough before, and it wasn't because we were missing the right supplement or the right detox or the right protocol. We tried all of that. Okay. We did our due diligence. We were disciplined. We were sharing notes. We were comparing everything and we were consistent. Okay. We did not miss a thing. We wanted to heal so bad. I mean, we were in a state where we couldn't get out of our beds most days. We couldn't, it was a chore to shower, it was a chore to do dishes, anything, and Mandy's got two little kids. And I was a single mom myself. It was everything. It ruined my whole life. I had no ability to live a normal life. So I was trying everything under the sun. And yes, I was researching and digging the whole time. But I realized that all of that work that we did, what was missing was certainly not effort. It was the function. It was the function of what we were doing, the mechanisms of what we were trying. Everything we tried before was chemistry layered onto a system that didn't have enough electrical charge to use it. So we could have put $1 million supplements down our gullet and it wouldn't have helped a thing. We were giving the body these raw materials without restoring the communication system that tells the body how to move and how to clear and how to regulate and how to repair. So when
Right.
voltage entered the picture, we didn't force healing. We restored the condition that allows the healing to happen. And that's why this worked when everything else did. That is the distinction. That is something that you need to hear me say. Rewind it and play it again if you need to. The distinction was we weren't doing the wrong things. We didn't have the proper foundations in our body. And voltage is the foundation of the body.
Exactly, and I just want to tell everybody, our bodies were not broken, they were
No.
underpowered,
Yes,
you know?
exactly. Yes, you're so right. Yes.
Yeah, and once electrical communication came back online, our bodies knew what to do.
Yeah, and that part of it can seem like a bunch of hype and a bunch of company, oh, this is the magic thing and blah blah blah, but we're living and walking examples that it's not hype. This is why we created the Voltage Library. Every week, I will be releasing a new class teaching all about this, all about voltage, regulation, detox, and recovery through this lens of voltage only. So yeah, we're gonna get into it, Mandy. We could keep going on this video today, but I think we have other things to cover. So make sure you hit that subscribe button if this resonated with you. We want to see you back here. We want your suggestions. We want your feedback. We're gonna grow this to a very large library where everything is focused on how voltage affects every condition you can think of under the sun. And we are so happy to have you here. So I'm going to go ahead and get back on camera because we've been talking forever. And just say thank you so much for being here. This is my life's work. I'm super passionate about it. So is Mandy, and we're going to be doing this together. Her brain is just as big as mine. She researches just like me. I trust her with my life. We went through hell together. We also healed together. So I think this is going to be very powerful and a great way for everybody out there in the world who is just getting introduced to these technologies to learn and understand how powerful they really are, and that this is not hype. This is not a sales pitch. This is not it's not any of that. This is actually life-changing stuff, and we are the living proof. Is there anything you want to close with, Mandy?
I was in a wheelchair. I want you
Oh,
guys to think about this.
that's a great way to clip it. Yes.
I was in
Yes.
a wheelchair.
Hmm.
I was in a diaper. I didn't think
Yes.
I'd ever go fishing again. I didn't think I'd ever dance again.
Hmm.
I'm walking.
Yeah,
I'm
you walked
hiking.
4 miles the other day, didn't you?
Yes, I'm
That's
fishing.
incredible.
I'm taking
See,
my
that
kids
makes
to
me a
the
bit choked
park.
up because like you're like a sister to me. So watching you transform has been amazing. And I didn't mean to cry on this video, but I just love you. This is my life's work. This is so important. And yeah, I can't wait to get started. Here we go. All right,
Love
everybody,
you.
you have a good day. Make sure you subscribe and we will talk to you soon.